We're flying from College Station, Texas to Bemidji, Minnesota in order to fly the entire Mississippi River from the headwaters to where it empties out into the Gulf of America. The Mississippi River may start in Minnesota, but we started this adventure from College Station, Texas. We gave ourselves 2 days to get there and stayed overnight in Kansas City.
So this adventure started with us leaving Coulterfield at about 10 o'clock in the morning and heading up to KMKO, which was going to be our first fuel stop on our way to Kansas City for the night. A rather uneventful flight, other than we were fighting about a constant 20-knot headwind the whole way up there, almost a direct headwind. So we usually plan our flights to be about a 2-hour flight, not because of fuel concerns, but because of bladder concerns. The 20-knot headwind caused us to turn that flight into about 3 hours and 20 minutes. So after landing in KMKO, I went back out to the plane and was looking around the airplane as the fuel attendant was filling the gas tanks, and looked down where the cowl flap is on the passenger side of the airplane and noticed what looked like a handle of a screwdriver or pliers or something sticking out of the cowl flap. I reached up and pulled a pair of dikes out of the cowl flap. So in preparation for this trip, Cindy and I had taken the cowls off and spent some time bundling cables and getting them all secure and making sure nothing was going to chafe. Well, somewhere in all that process, we apparently had forgotten to inventory and put the dikes back up into the toolbox, and they got left under the cowl. Luckily, they didn't fall out and hit something, and secondarily lucky, we hadn't done any apparent damage to anything on their trip down through the engine compartment. The next leg of the trip was, again, scheduled to be about 2 hours, and we took off from KMKO in Oklahoma and up to about 7,000 feet on an IFR flight plan, and flew almost directly north to just outside of Kansas City.
We met up with friends who suggested dinner at Gates Barbecue and were entertained by that feisty crew that takes your order and serves your barbecue, and it was delicious. I got it all over me. Then they took us on a windshield tour of downtown Kansas City, and I now realize I'm going to have to go back because there was so much cool stuff to see. It's going to be something I want to go back and spend more time as. But so thanks to Ron and Connie for the great little taste of what Kansas City has to offer.
Next morning, we took off with the intent to fly straight up to Estherville, Iowa for a fuel stop. ATC cleared us through the Bravo, activated our flight plan, got us through the Bravo. Estherville is a tiny, tiny little town in Iowa. When we did all of our flight planning, we tried to find airports that had some things going for them. Obviously, we needed runway lengths and widths that we were happy with, but we also needed a place where there was a mechanic if we had a problem, and there was a ability to get rental cars or courtesy cars. So that became kind of how we picked airports along the way. Estherville's none of those. It's a long, straight runway in the middle of a field and has a little bitty building for an FBO. After getting fuel in Estherville, we took off and headed again almost due north. It was enough westward that we could file for 8,000 feet, and then quickly realized we'd do much better if we were a lot higher. So we actually asked them to increase our flight to 10,000 feet, which they did, and we made our way into Bemidji, Minnesota. Bemidji Airport, unlike Estherville, is pretty good sized. It's still an uncontrolled airfield, but it's got several runways, so we flew a approach into Bemidji. We did almost all the approaches on this trip under ATC as an IFR flight.
Well, Len and I are here in Bemidji, Minnesota. We're at Lake Bemidji, which is the first big lake that the Mississippi River dumps into when it leaves Lake Itasca. The legend has it that it was made by one of Paul Bunyan's footsteps. So he stepped here and then water came in and filled up the lake behind him. Fun, right? So everything in town has Paul Bunyan's picture on it. But remember, this trip is all about the mighty Mississippi. So Len and I set out, like countless explorers before us, to find the source. To begin at the beginning, the headwaters of the Mississippi River. We're at Lake Itasca in northern Minnesota, and right behind me, you can see the lake, and where there's water running over the rocks is where the Mississippi River starts. Unlike those intrepid explorers before us, though, we didn't have to contend with many of the challenges that they did. The voracious mosquitoes and knee-deep mud and having to portage your boats. Of course, we didn't have to do any of that. Standing at the headwaters, there's a carved wooden marker that lets you know that you're standing at 1,475 feet above sea level and that the mighty Mississippi flows 2,552 miles to the Gulf. So now that we've taken baby steps across the headwaters, we're ready to go with the flow and follow the meandering river on its journey past 10 different states. We'll stop along the way and see how the river shaped the history, the culture, the language, the industries, and the people that live along its banks. We hope you'll climb aboard and join us on our mission to explore this country from sea to shining sea.